Hey folks, I'm Troy and you're watching TroyTube. And with all the people getting Explorer units lately with holidays, and there's going to be probably even more getting them at Christmas, and so January is sure to be a busy month for the Cricut family and Cricut support and all that. I thought it'd be a good idea if I went over the top issues I think over the past year, or the top mistakes I see that new Explorer users make or Design Space users make. And hopefully this will help some of the new folks get perspective on where their issues might lie, or what they might need to think about doing better and learning, and how to learn how to use the units. So the first mistake I think a lot of people make is lack of patience and not taking time to understand how the Explorer works, and not taking time to test and practice before jumping in and trying to make projects. And I will tell you, if you've been in any of the Facebook groups for a while, you see that I'm very active in trying to help other people. I've very experienced IT background, and I'm a pretty big advocate of Cricut, although I have no affiliation with Cricut other than I own one, and I enjoy making things with it, and about 99% of what I do is vinyl. But I'll tell you, when we first bought our Cricut Explorer, we have the original green unit, and last January, it's the end of January 2015, and I brought it home. I drove almost 2 hours to pick it up because you couldn't really find them around as easily, and brought it home. Did a few things the first day. I thought it was a pretty incredible machine. Then day two comes around. Day two, I got so frustrated, I boxed it up, I took it back to my wife's desk, put it beside her computer, I said, it's all yours. I don't want anything to do with it. So day three rolls around, I go get it, decide I'm not going to let it defeat me, and it's been in my office ever since. And over the past year, I've made several thousand items using vinyl, and of course you see I have a pretty large YouTube channel as well. And so a little bit of patience, or a lot of patience, goes a very long way in learning how to use your unit. The second mistake I see a lot of people make is not understanding images and image sizes and image resolutions. Now, I have a couple videos on my channel. I'll put a link to one of those right here, right now, that you can click and go watch. And pause this video, go watch it, and I explain resolutions and dots per inch and what all these things mean to you. And if you don't understand those things and you just kind of go at things blindly, you're going to run into a lot of issues unless you get really lucky. So either poor quality cuts or things like shockwave plugin errors, you'll be very prone to those. So take time to learn some of this stuff that you need to know, such as image sizes and image resolutions, in order to get the best results out of your Cricut Explorer. The next one is not taking time to understand what the features mean. I have a video that in about 30 minutes goes through all the features of Design Space and basically how they work, and I touch on just about every part of it. I know Melody Lane has like a 2-hour-long video that goes through Design Space from one end to the other, and the Explorer from one end to the other, and goes into very deep detail for all the pieces. There's the official Cricut channel. They have reference PDFs on their site. So take time to learn what the features mean. Learn what slice and attach and weld and layers and all those things mean to you before you jump in and start trying to do a project right off the bat, and you'll get frustrated, because taking that little bit of time to understand those is going to be real important for you. The next mistake I see a lot of people make is getting a computer that is very inadequate. It doesn't matter how new your computer is unless you have a Mac, because those are very regulated hardware and generally very high performance machines. But if you go out and buy a Windows computer and you go to Walmart and buy the $200 laptop, there's a good chance you're getting a laptop that has a very slow processor, or it doesn't have very much memory in it, or a combination of those things. So take time to understand that. If you're going to buy a new computer, if you're buying a Windows computer, take time to understand the processor in it. Do not get anything that has an E1, an E2, Celeron, or Atom processor, ATOM, Atom. And look for Intel i3s, i5s, i7s, or AMD A6, A8s, A10s, the more you spend on it, the better results you're going to have. And so a lot of people are buying these cheap computers that are very slow and have a very poor experience with them, and they end up really being frustrated because they didn't invest wisely. An extra $100 goes a long way on a computer, and really advise you taking time to understand that. Another thing that a lot of people struggle with are very complex projects. With the way I look at it, with the Cricut Explorer, what comes with a lot of power and flexibility, like design space in the Explorer to do your own projects, upload your own files, also comes with great responsibility. It's kind of like a superpower. And so if you have a lot of freedom, but that freedom comes at the expense that if you don't understand with some of these things, like I mentioned earlier with image resolutions, you can overload your software and the Explorer and not be able to accomplish a project you have in mind due to some of those factors that you didn't take time to understand. So those complex projects, if you're creating projects that have 100 layers in them, you're probably going to have problems. So make sure you understand those. Another mistake a lot of people make is not understanding size limitations to materials like vinyl. And what I'll mean by that are I get a lot of requests to do things like coffee mugs or tumblers with a corporate logo on them. Every single one of them, I look at them before I commit to anything, because the majority of today's logos are made very well for print or for web use, but they're not made very good for cutting out of vinyl or another material. And so if you have things like really thin fonts, like long thin fonts that are really kind of like hairline, when it cuts, it's going to cut up one side, then it's going to cut back up the other side. And if it's very thin, a good chance it's going to just pull it up with the blade or stick to the blade, or you're not going to be able to apply it properly, or it's not going to adhere properly, because there is a surface factor. If your vinyl is not very wide, it may not adhere very well. So make sure you understand what those physical limitations are. I see people trying to cut out letters that are literally like a 1/4 inch tall and very thin fonts, almost as thin that you could write with a pencil, and that's just generally not going to work very well for you. Buying cheap vinyl. A lot of people run out, I try not to talk about specific products, but it's pretty common out there. The vinyl you get at Hobby Lobby does not work very well. It's very cheap. It doesn't even stick to the backing very well. So if you cut anything very small at all, it just rips it up off of the vinyl paper backing, and it's very difficult to work with. So personally, I use almost all Oracle 651 vinyl. I know a lot of people get vinyl from Expressions Vinyl and some other places, but use quality vinyl or quality materials if you're not doing vinyl, and really kind of find your place with that, because sometimes you might find that a cheaper cardstock works better than a more expensive cardstock, just because of the nature of the beast. So take time to understand those things and really nail down what materials you want to use. Don't get frustrated if the first thing you put down doesn't work very well. There's a lot of variables to this, so take your time with that. Probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people make, and this is true with any software, it's not just Design Space, save your work as you go. I see people post online that they spent 2 hours creating a design and then they couldn't save it, or Design Space crashed. And I try to tell people, save about every 5 minutes at a minimum. It just takes a second to go there and click that save button. When you create a new project, save it right then, and then save every 5 minutes while you're working on it, so that you don't risk losing your project. Like I said, that's true with any software. If when I'm at work, I have business users. They'll call me and say, "I've been working on a spreadsheet all day and I lost it. If you didn't save it, I'm sorry. That's your fault." You have to do this. You have to save your projects frequently to avoid any data loss, and make sure you take care of those things. That probably goes along with another one, backing up your data. If you download a lot of things like fonts and SVG files and images and all that, make sure you're backing up your data. I have a video on my channel. I'll put a link to that on the screen right now that explains different ways you can back up your data in Windows and things to be thinking about. And the fact that like little things like those thumb drives are real volatile. I don't recommend those for backup, although they're better than nothing. So make sure you go watch that video and understand how to back up your software. When you get on the Facebook groups and you ask for help, ask for help the right way. You know, give folks some idea of what your problem is, what you've been doing, you know, whether you're using Windows or Mac, what browser you're using, and with you know, maybe a description of your problem and screenshots if you can. Windows has the snipping tool built into it. I think Mac has something very similar. And so give folks as much information as you can. Anything that you've already done to try to resolve it too. That speeds things up. I see so many people, hundreds and hundreds of posts say, anybody having problems with Design Space, and that's all they say. And then, you know, you'll get a litany of responses saying, yes, I can't do this or I can't do that, and none of them correspond with what your problem is. So make sure you ask for help. Give us something to go on and you know, help you out. You know, everyone is, you know, there's hundreds of people out there that try to help as much as possible, and just giving that feedback initially speeds things up and can ease your frustration as well. One of the things out there, a lot of people I kind of get amazed at, is not understanding the hidden treasures at the Dollar Tree. So I really recommend that you go out to your local Dollar Tree. Even if you're not going to make these things to sell, this is a great place to get things to practice on too. I mean, you can go out for $20, get 20 different items to practice on. Tumblers, plates, glasses, wine glasses, beer mugs, candles, candle holders, all these things. You can, plastic buckets, you can get all this stuff to practice on. And for, you know, really what I view, you know, getting an Explorer and just starting out and never having worked on it before, you know, be willing to spend $10, $20, $30, $40 or something on products to just practice on and give them away. That's really the best way to perfect your techniques and how you're going to do things and learn, because you're going to encounter those problems, then you're going to ask questions, get your answers, figure them out, rather than saying, oh, I got a new Explorer, I'm going to make someone a shirt, how do I do it? Go buy, you know, get some shirts at Goodwill for a few bucks and practice on them. So, you know, really dig into this practice and get your techniques down before you get frustrated trying to make your first big project out of the gate. Probably the two things that round this out. When you get your Explorer, make sure people don't have enough coffee and they don't have enough wine, whichever it is you prefer to have with you, because you're going to get hooked on it and do some things and spend a lot of time with it. And then probably the number one mistake I've warned people about is telling your relatives and friends what you can do, because man, once they find out, it's game on. And everybody wants you to make things for them. So, but hopefully that's been helpful to you. I just wanted to give a quick rundown of those things and cover some of the things, like I said, that people tend to make mistakes on out of the gate, and try to give you some advice. And hopefully that will help you get started with your Cricut Explore in Design Space. And I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year.
If my video has been helpful to you, please subscribe to my channel. And after you subscribe, be sure to click the little gear and check this box so that you'll receive an email notification when I upload a new video. You can also help support my channel by making a small donation on patreon.com/Troy Young.